Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well in this rather turbulent year. Today I want to take a little look at the Brother BP-30. This is a very funky typewriter. Now you may think, well, typewriter isn't that interesting. Well, this thing uses pencils to draw text and graphs and stuff. It's really weird. So yeah, let's boot her up and have some fun, shall we? The first thing I notice is just how yellow this thing is. Looks like a sponge on video. Well, maybe I'll retro-bright it at some point. But first, let's take a look at the actual typewriter. So yeah, of course, standard typewriter stuff. You have an LCD screen on this thing, which is really handy. And an okay keyboard. It's not the worst that I've ever typed on. And interestingly, it also has a bit for a calculator. We'll take a look at that later. And here's a quick preview of the capabilities of the machine. These were the experiments I did yesterday, just after I bought the machine. Some didn't go so well. So let's turn it on and I shall give a little live demonstration of how it exactly prints all these fancy things. When inserting the paper, pay attention to the margin guides here. With this you lock the paper in place. And then finally you can use these blue buttons to, well, pretty much navigate the paper. It's pretty interesting. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Now though, I'll use it to load up the paper. Oh, and also don't forget the guide wheels. And there we go. We're all loaded up. While typing, the unit also shows the text on the display, which is very neat because you can't actually see the text on the paper. And there we go. Hello world. I'll remove this cover plate so you can actually see the carriage in action. It's kind of like a revolver barrel loaded with pencils. You'll notice this metal plate in the bottom there pushing against the pencil. This actually pushes the pencil against the paper, and then the machine moves the paper itself as well as the carriage to draw whatever you need on the paper. This has various settings for making your document all fancy. The first one we're going to take a look at is the color one. Pressing the color button actually rotates the barrel. Again, much like a revolver, to change the pencil currently used for drawing. Okay, now for the fun stuff. Let's draw some graphs. Now, text and graphs can be drawn at different sizes, small, medium or large, which can be set with the size button. The LCD display will tell you which size you currently have selected. First we set the carriage position on our paper to where we want to draw our graph. It draws the graphs from the bottom left. Now we can start graphing by pressing the graph button, obviously. Then we can select a type of graph. There's different ones: pie charts, bar charts, line charts. For this one I'm going for a colored pie chart with percentages. Very fancy indeed. So I'll just enter some random data. One very handy feature that I made extensive use of is the test. So what this does, it just draws the outline of the chart without actually putting the pencil on paper. So you can see it go through the motions and see if it fits. In my first test of the graphing function, I did not know this existed and well, my graphs were all over the place. This one seems good though, so let's print it. I sped up the footage a bit because it did take a while for it to print. It needs to draw all these colored lines. It's very interesting to watch though. And there we go, one very fancy graph. The LCD display now shows data end to indicate that it's finished drawing. And there it is. I'm quite amazed at the quality of the prints. The lines are all very crisp and it's fairly precise. Aside from the tiny little drawing mishaps, I'd say this is almost competitive to some cheap modern printers. And here's a close-up of another graph being drawn. This time I haven't sped up the footage, because this has only a few lines to draw and well, it speeds through it like no tomorrow. Another nice feature is that you can actually duplicate the same graph in another location. So here I move the carriage to a new position and I just press the draw button again. And there we go, the same graph duplicated. And here's where I accidentally discovered another feature. You can actually enter more data and it will just draw another line over the currently existing one. This is very handy for comparing two sets of data. But wait, there's more! There's also a text alignment feature on this thing, which allows you to, well, change the angle on which the text is drawn. This is great for annotating graphs, just like this. The typewriter also has several modes, which are very handy for making your documents. My personal favorite, corrective print mode. This one is super handy. Instead of immediately printing out the text that you type, it first displays the first 15 characters on the display. And this means you can still make corrections, change words, before it actually permanently prints them on the paper. Now when you type more than 15 characters, it actually starts printing out the first characters that you typed. This essentially allows you to make corrections to the last 15 characters that you have typed. Another neat feature is that you can navigate the characters on the LCD screen using the arrow keys. This way you can change single characters without having to retype things. The final feature I want to show off is the calculator mode. This is available in corrective print mode. This allows you to, well, make calculations with up to 12 digits of floating point, which it prints out once it's finished the calculation. It does seem I need to replace my black ink pencil though. And here's a final overview of all the pretty things I printed. And now I think it's time to take it apart. Now the reason I want to take it apart, of course I want to have a look inside, but it also has a battery compartment. And that always makes me a little bit nervous on these very old products. Because yeah, it is crusty. And a peek inside confirms my suspicion that the terminals are completely corroded. So I'll need to fix that before it eats away at the rest of the machine. Luckily this thing is really easy to take apart. Just 4 screws on the bottom and we're in like Flynn. Ugh, I think I need to clean my table first though. Look at all that crap that came out. Ugh. Ah, much better. And here we are. So it just folds open very neatly. There's just one ribbon cable that connects the motherboard PCB to, I think, the controller PCB. There aren't many chips on the main board. This chip is an HD44780, which is an LCD controller. The other 2 chips are from the Mitsubishi 740 series, the M50745 and the M50740, which are both CMOS 8-bit microcontrollers with a 6502 CPU as the core. Okay, back to the problem at hand. So this battery terminal is just completely green from corrosion, and there's all sorts of crap spread out inside the chassis as well. Luckily the corrosion hasn't spread to any other parts of the machine, but let's clean it up so that actually doesn't happen. So I'm just using my vacuum to get rid of all the loose crap in there, sometimes using a screwdriver to loosen things up, and that cleaned it up quite okay. That battery terminal, however, it is so corroded, so I got myself some vinegar, poured it over it and used an old toothbrush to clean it up. Or at least attempting to clean it up. I think the only thing I achieved here is making the toothbrush just as green as the battery terminal itself. Well, this is the result of our 1 hour of soaking and scrubbing. Yeah, I think I'll just throw this thing away. It's way too much of a hazard for the machine. I'll just have to MacGyver a new one. So I took another closer look at the PCB and noticed something strange. A lot of the traces just go off the board. I think this is also designed for some other models of their printers. This is something manufacturers did a lot and probably still do, is just have one kind of PCB for multiple products. It saves a lot on production costs. There's even a little inset for a switch here, which just isn't there, so I'm not sure if this switch is just removed or it's just not supposed to be there. I also noticed these jumpers. I think again it's for different products. It may be interesting to try and bridge another one sometime, to see what happens. But I want to be careful with this machine. Okay, I reassembled the machine and now I'm testing it. Luckily it all still works, so that's good. Before I end the video, I want to show one final thing, and that is replacing the pencils. So removing this cover reveals the carrier. Then you move this lever back, which removes the plate which pushes the pens. And finally you can just slide out the pen. And here it is. This is one of the pencils. This is the black one. Oh, and then you just slide in the new one. Just like that. You push the plate back into place using the lever. And yeah, you're all ready to go. So that is super easy. So that was a quick look at the Brother BP-30, and well, it's all cleaned up now too, so well, as far as I could clean it up. I will need to make a replacement for that battery terminal. Maybe I can MacGyver one from some iron wire or something. I'll see. But for now, at least the danger of corrosion is removed, so this thing will probably last a lot longer now than it would have with all that crap in there. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Not really about synthesizers this time, but oh well. I am planning to modify this thing. Let me just put it there. Isn't it beautiful? So I am planning to modify this, but I do want to keep the original stuff intact. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an EEPROM or anything, so I can't read out the firmware and modify it, because I can just replace it with an EEPROM of yeah, my own programming. But oh well. It does seem like all the connections, all the control signals to the actual printer unit itself, there's just a couple of connections on that ribbon cable, so that should be pretty easy to hack into and to control. Because what I want to do, I actually want to make this thing able to print more than just graphs. Also, I don't know, maybe just arbitrary drawings or something. Just yeah, just expand it a little bit. I think it will be an interesting project, and maybe I can even incorporate some interesting synthesis stuff into it. Maybe it draws waveforms, or I don't know. I haven't really got a clue yet. I just picked this thing up yesterday, and I was just like, oh hey, this is really funky, I gotta have this. So yeah. Anyways, that was it for today. Maybe next video again, synthesizers. I don't know yet. I don't really have anything planned at the moment. Plenty of ideas, but, so, there's probably some interesting stuff we can talk about. So I'll see you guys next video. I hope you enjoyed it.